So a huge jury verdict came out of Los Angeles against Meta and YouTube, saying that they were negligent um, and didn't warn their users of the dangers of using their platforms, in particular as it pertains to children. Okay, this is potentially just incredibly huge as far as like the effects it will have on social media from here on out. And I believe that this could actually be something that will work in the favor of students learning math. Why? Because these things have caused us to they've helped to shorten attention spans of our young people because young people have so much access. And I believe this is actually potentially really big in helping our kids. Um, there's a quote in the ruling: malice that they added with malice, oppression, and fraud. That is very significant. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this here on this YouTube channel is because just yesterday I posted a video talking about how technology is rewiring students' brains and ruining their math scores. And I really sincerely believe that. I've noticed distraction um, when I tutor, and I think it's something that's so important because young people are still, their brains are still forming. And I think that when we give them this unfettered, unregulated access to the internet, that it's because their brains are forming around that, that it could have very, very significant effects, and it's destroying their attention, which you really, really need to effectively learn. Okay. So apparently, all of this Meta Google stuff really comes from a lady who sued them after alleging that she had been addicted to YouTube and Instagram when she was very young. Apparently, she started using YouTube at 6 and started using Instagram at 9, and she never experienced anything to kind of block her from using that. And apparently, one day she spent 16 hours on Instagram in just one day. Now, I don't think that's even anything to be very surprised about because I'm sure that many, many, many young people, at least around this country, are using Instagram like that. I've known of people personally, or I don't even just say Instagram, but just, TikTok and all the other social media stuff. But I've known of people personally who sleep with their phones underneath their pillows and different things like that. So this doesn't surprise me. But the young lady, she claimed that the negligence of the companies was a substantial factor in her developing specific mental health issues, including like body dysmorphia, suicidal thoughts, depression, and things like that. Now, so a lot of people see this as a huge turning point in the social media world, like groundbreaking, like nothing will be the same. Quote, the end of social media as we know it. That's huge. And I saw that others are calling it like a big, quote, big tobacco moment. Now, if you are a millennial, maybe, millennial Gen X, like and before, then you remember when tobacco was a big thing, as in like cigarettes and chewing tobacco and all that kind of stuff. And when you would see the advertisements on the billboards, you would like the camo illustrations and the Marlboro Man and all that stuff. And then once those big tobacco rulings went out, next thing you know, you didn't see billboards like that much, if at all. You no longer saw the cartoon camo because people were saying that appealed to kids, and you didn't see that. Then you were seeing a lot of warnings, prominent warnings on advertisements, prominent warnings on packaging and whatnot, saying, "Hey, this product causes mouth cancer. This product causes emphysema. This product causes this and that." And I remember even when smoking was a thing inside of restaurants, like in any restaurant you went into, and then one day it just disappeared. So like a lot of people believe this social media ruling is probably of that magnitude. Now, this being a math channel, the whole reason I'm talking about this is because I was just talking about the effect of technology on math education. I believe specifically from the attention standpoint that it's causing real harm to our students, because I know how much social media, but not just social media, even other things having to do with like computers and internet. I know how much those have affected even my attention. How sometimes I feel like very drawn to using various apps and things. I think the infinite scrolls that a lot of these, not just social media, but like even news online and whatnot, so search engines, a lot of these infinite scrolls that organizations have made are indeed very addictive, you know. And so I really do believe that this could be huge for education. One, because especially when a lot of students are still able to bring their phones to school, they're not, hopefully, this would mean they won't necessarily have as much distraction in their hands because they're going to use them if they can bring them to school. Um, Second thing is, I wonder if there are going to be like more prominent warnings, and stronger blocks on these apps. You know, I wonder if there are going to be stronger blocks and whatnot. And if infinite scrolling will go away or different things like that. Now, to be fair, there are other threats to kids learning for sure. So it's like social media is probably like among the most significant of them because of like the very specific things that have really, really kind of like harmed attention spans, like infinite scrolling and liking stuff and a lot of those key features, notifications and whatnot. But there are other threats to attention, TV, other non-social media applications, text messages from friends and whatnot. But I think those are, oh, and video games too. I can't forget video games. But I believe this could have a huge effect. I'm kind of looking to see what happens because I know that sometimes when I've tutored, I've noticed that some of my students may have a phone close by, and the thing is when you have your brain on other stuff when you're learning. Case in point, I was actually tutoring a student on graphing polynomials yesterday, and it was something I haven't done in a very long time, even though I've been tutoring consistently for many years now. And I was really, really trying to grasp for understanding and remembering. And if I was trying to do anything else at those times, then it's just a wrap. And I just don't see how our kids can be expected to still perform well and have their minds divided between math instruction and maybe some short videos on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and have your brain all these different places, because let's be honest, these things really do pull you. They pull your attention, but if they become less interesting, then I do believe that there is hope. Now, my approach, because I am, in addition to being a math tutor, I am also a father. So my wife and I, we very significantly restrict our kids' access to anything, even on the screen. Anything, you know, they only get a certain amount of limited time on the weekends because I'm not going to wait for any sort of organization to put safeguards in. That's what I'm going to take care of. But this gives me hope in a broader sense that maybe much more regulated access, which, I think is fair, will help us as a whole to move in a direction of not allowing stuff to destroy our attention, especially as it pertains to the kids. Because I had the advantage of learning without any of this stuff. And other kids, they don't know what it means. They don't know as much what it means to learn with an undivided mind, I believe. Now, again, we had TV, we had video games, but when I was a kid, I was restricted from those as well. So, anyway, this is very interesting. It feels like something is shifting. It does. And I just wanted to get on here and talk about that real quick. Main thing I say is it's always encouraged whenever you're learning math, when you're trying to understand something, there's a temptation to kind of like get your mind off of it by going and looking at maybe a smartphone or something like that. I encountered that. I don't have a smartphone, but I encountered that on my computer here. But I am a big proponent of learning with an undivided mind, a mind that's not, being entertained by social media or videos and stuff, um, while learning. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this Meta Google verdict is going to have a significant impact on math education? And if you do think it's going to have an impact, let me know what kind of impact you think it's going to have. Put it in the comment section. Thank you for watching.